Before we begin this update, which I had basically made already, I thought I would give you a quick update on my physical health. And basically, I want to, first of all, thank everyone for contributing. I certainly made the amount I wanted and then some, which will go a long way towards helping with other appointments for the doctor down the road and just living. I'll explain what happened in more detail, but I'll wait until the end of this official update that I was doing. Simply because I do want to tell you, but I don't want to take too much time at the beginning. And for those who might be just coming upon this and just wanted whatever the update is. But basically, I'm not in a lot of pain at the moment. I went to the doctors again today and took pre-operation lab tests and such. And I can't really sleep in the right position, but all of these things I'll explain in more depth, and I'll explain exactly how my accident happened. But we'll just suffice it to say for now, if you're just tuning in and you just want to know how it went, it isn't done yet. The actual operation will take place on Monday. And all the money is here, so I'm not worried about that. And we'll see what happens. You know, you can never say. So, but my spirits are up. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Okay, so without any further ado, the real update. And we'll be back.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Greetings, this is Byrne Power coming to you from Tbilisi, Georgia. Across all my channels except one, the Mystery Channel. And the reason for that is that I have announcements to make, updates, things that might interest you. And among them are about my Patreon, about what's going on over there, about what's happening on different channels that I have. There are 4 official ones that we'll be mentioning today. And I'll be calling for questions and answers on the Anadromist channel, which can be about anything. And I will be calling for questions and answers on the Anadrome channel, which deals more specifically with music, movies, media, and such. And I have an opportunity to tutor a couple of people, only a couple. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so since the nature of this, there's no point in me stopping and saying go subscribe and all that stuff, because the whole point of this is to talk to you about what's going on. Now, before we get too far, I want to mention a really funny thing that happened. I was blocked. Not blocked, that's the wrong word. I was in danger of being blocked by YouTube, but not because of YouTube, although in a way, yes. But because I played a song on a video on Gravity from Above, and I've been looking at cabarets there and thinking about them for an upcoming video. And I have these 3 videos, and one of them played a song that was from 1911, a very scratchy recording. Now, if you know anything about copyright, 1911 is way off. There's nothing that's in copyright from 1911 that I could possibly be taken down for. I mean, it's just simply absurd. It's a song called Le Chat Noir, the Black Cat, about, it's set in the first cabaret, which was called Le Chat Noir, and it's by Aristide Bruant, who was the first really successful singer to come out of the cabaret scene, and in fact, he later started his own cabaret. Well, anyway, And he died in 1925. And quite frankly, nothing from 1925 is available to be copyrighted anymore on the 100-year plan. I mean, other things can be copyrighted, but nothing before that date. So even his whole life takes place before copyrights come into place that would affect us today. So some small company sent me a notice. Now, I don't make any money through YouTube. It's hard to believe, but I don't. And what happens is that I get copyright claims. Now, I've had one or two, attempted copyright strikes, but this was a claim. Now, this was on a video I expected to do very little business. It ended up getting 1,000 views on that channel, but that's typical for that channel, and I can't monetize it. I've been doing that channel longer than any others, and I can't monetize it because I live in Georgia, and the relationship between the banks, YouTube, me is just crazy. So I can't make any money that way. But it was on principle. I said to myself, no, I'm not going to let this stand. I have to dispute this. This is well over 100 years old, 114 years old. That is just insane. So I wrote and saying, no, gave my reasons. They rejected my dispute. So then I appealed the rejection. And then I got this takedown notice that if I didn't take it down, they were going to block the video. And I'm sitting there going, this is insane. So what I did was I saw that there was an address to write to for YouTube. And I wrote it. And I got an AI response, which basically said, there's nothing we can do. I was just like, just so stupid. That's the kind of stuff I'm up against when I do stuff, and any creator is. I noticed that very same song was copyright claimed about 10 other times all by itself. So whoever is behind this is actually, if those people are making any money off their use of that song, this entity is collecting the money. One thing I'd like to do before I get too far into this is welcome all of you new people here at the Anadrome, because I released a kind of crazy video a couple days ago, and it was my review of One Battle After Another, starring Leo DiCaprio and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who's a pretty acclaimed director. And I happen to have one of the very few negative takes on it. It wasn't through the quality of the film, it was the messaging of the film. Other people have since picked up on what I was doing. Not that I think they saw my video, but it's just kind of clear once you look at it. A lot of the people who might watch that video are not the kind of people who wait around in movie theaters to watch videos like that. But it brought me all sorts of people questioning me, including a number of times I was called a racist, which is really funny to me since it is so untrue. It's just, people at this point, they just vomit up these words, Nazi, racist, Hitler, they just vomit up these words. They mean nothing anymore because these people clearly do not have any conception of what these words mean or who Hitler was or anything like that. It's just like, they're all just literally Hitler, literally fascist. And the word literal, of course, has sadly been thrown into the scrap heap. But amidst all the people who were complaining, and there are quite a few, it's kind of a funny comment section. I would suggest going and looking at it if you haven't. Besides the people who were complaining, there were a lot of people who were like, hey, I just found your channels. I got over 50 people who joined up. So, hi, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. And it's a strange world over here. This, by the way, is the small channel. The bigger channel is the Anadromist. Anadrome and Anadromist are related to the word Anadromous, which is an adjective describing salmon swimming back upstream, going through the phalanx of bears and eagles to try to get home to spawn. I thought that was a good word to describe what we should be doing. We should be trying to get home in our lives rather than get lost out at sea without anything to show for it. Well, so feel free to watch this, comment anything you want, but let's continue with our discussion of what's happening here on the channel. Well, I have a Patreon page, and this is a Patreon page across all my channels. Now, there are some people I would recommend, don't come over here to the Patreon. You're fine where you are, simply because I get lots of people who watch me from different kinds of perspectives. And in my Patreon, I just unify puppets and ballet with travel and Georgia, with music and arts, and with the Anadromist, which is my big idea channel. It's not that big. I mean, this is really funny. And I threw this guy off my channel because he was just being such a, shall we say, large male member. And that is, he was accusing me of making rage bait. I did write a note saying, maybe I am tempted to make rage bait if it gets more people here, but of course I'm not going to. That's way beyond my moral categories to do such a thing. But this guy was saying, so this is how you're trying to get people to, give you money. And I'm going like, you have no idea. I don't make any money at all. I mean, if you compare me to any large YouTube channel, I have not even 3,000 people on the Anadromist. And I don't get much money. I don't get any money from YouTube. I don't have any other sources. That's why I started the Patreon. But you know what? Such is life. As I've mentioned, I can't make any YouTube money. And I'm kind of glad, because I don't want to infest you with more and more advertising. You get way too much the way it is. So my answer to that is, let's do it the old-fashioned way. Just go to people. And I've had people who've been giving to me through PayPal. And by the way, all those people who are still with me on PayPal got a free entrance into the Patreon. And in fact, that's better for me, because I have to take the money from Patreon, run it through PayPal, and then I get money. There's also a Georgian, exchange fee. So I actually lose money through Patreon. So if you really want to help out, go to the PayPal link below and sign up for the monthly thing there. Make sure it's at least the amount of what you want on Patreon. And I'll send you the link to get into everything except the one big thing. And I'll mention that in a moment. But here's the thing about Patreon. I have already loaded it. I haven't finished loading it up yet. But I'm putting all of my videos from all the channels that matter. There's some duplications. I'm not going to put the duplicates up there. But I'm putting everything that seems relevant there, including the stuff from my mystery channel eventually. And so you can go through this. And right now, there are several early access videos, which I think many of you would appreciate, including a 2-hour-long interview with the Quay brothers, who make some of the most fascinating and philosophical animation on Earth. And there's also, I'm almost finished translating a Jan Schwankmeyer interview that I did back in 2012. The Quay brothers was from 2016. And I'm starting to put on my Gravity from Above channel all of the material from all of my interviews. There is a certain amount now, but there's a lot more to come. Then there is audio collections. So my audio collections involve all sorts of things, from lectures I've done, my whole 3-part, 6-hour version of what happened to San Francisco in the 60s is there. But so is my certain like news reporting I did in Alaska. So is audio material from other people that I felt was important, but I wouldn't want to put it on the main channel because, for one thing, I don't want to make it a visual thing. So there are just MP3 files over there. Some of them you can download. But, there's a lot of stuff there. Plus, if you've been mostly like a horse with blinders on, saying, Byrne, I really like, pick your channel, Gravity from Above, the Anadromist, the Anadrome, Georgian Crossroads, and beyond, you're going to go like, oh, you have a lot more stuff than I was thinking about. And because that is what I have. There isn't a way for me to hook up all the channels together, and I'm kind of glad they are separate, because the thing is, you get known for doing one thing in one place. And I think one of the reasons my main Anadromist channel has not grown the way I hoped it would is because my thoughts go all over. My thoughts go all over the place. It's not an organized system in my brain. Well, it is. But I feel like, okay, now we have to talk about this. Let's talk about aesthetic things. Let's talk about theological things. Let's talk about moral things. Let's talk about psychological propaganda. Let's talk about music. And I go all over. So one thing I did, I've noticed there's a few people on the Anadromist who don't seem to realize that all of my new music and media stuff is over on the Anadrome. So the new video I just did over there on the Anadrome has blown up. It's gotten 5,000 views in like a day and a half, which for me, and now for some people, that's just, Tuesday. But for me, that was a very significant amount and has drawn a lot more attention to my channel than it had before, relative to the small size of the channel. That channel doesn't even have 1,000 people yet, but it's getting there. But so far, no one from the Anadrome has said, I will contribute, either through PayPal or through the Patreon page. But I suggest going and signing up at the $6 amount on Patreon, which gives you access to everything except one thing. And, well, there's two things. My book, the 3 motions, small book of 3 marionette plays, is there for sale as well. But the main thing is it does not give you access to my history of the 20th century through audio actualities, which I made as a series of radio shows when I was in Alaska, and this took me years to put together. So that, I feel like, I've got it at $35 right now. Eventually I'll raise the price, so go over and get it. By the way, if you sign up at the $6 amount over on the Patreon page, I am going to eventually raise that amount. So get in now, and you'll be locked in at that amount. Some people joined at the $5 amount. They're locked in at that amount. But I just want to let you know, I've got stuff I have to do. I've got needs. So I have to find a way to make a little bit of money. I'm living on, a really small Social Security check every month. And the few very generous dollars I get from this. So one of the things I was thinking about, though, is that, I'm sitting there saying, now, I have a lot of skills. I have a lot of things that I know a lot about. Well, I need to do something with those to make a few dollars. And, of course, writing is one of those things. And the problem with writing right now is, since I have no connections in the writing world, I'm kind of stuck doing this. And this takes up so much time. It takes exactly the same kind of time that writing would take. And there isn't a day that goes by that I'm not aware of that. So what I'm trying to do is build this up a little more so that I have to do it a little less, so that I can free my mind to do all the writing I need to do. Since I just turned 70, the clock is ticking. I'm not planning on dying right away. Hopefully I'll make it to 90. That would be great. But that doesn't make me... I don't think I would finish on my writing by 90 if I started tomorrow and dedicated myself to it. That's just life. So I need your help. So go over to the Patreon or go down below. And if you have a substantial amount you'd like to donate, and you're an American and you would like to get a tax-deductible receipt, I still have this open GoFundMe page, which has over $20,000 on it. So if you go there, you go, oh, Byrne is doing great. No, Byrne isn't. That was from several years ago. Although someone, in regards to the following thing I'm about to say, just did send me a check. which was substantial. And that means that's still open, and that person will get a tax-deductible receipt for the service that I would like to mention. And that is because I have all of these things, music, puppetry, the arts, a general overview of culture since the Renaissance, and all this kind of stuff. I would like to offer my services for tutoring on subjects related to the cultural phenomena. And so there is a video which I'll link at the very end of this that is related to what my specialties are. I didn't make it for this reason, but this works for this reason. And if you go there and look at the things I know a bit more about than other people, which is about half the video describing these subjects, you can pick from anything in there. And I will certainly be able to help you. What I'm doing right now is I'm tutoring one person. It's a 13-week course. This will go into the next year, but I am available for 2 other people. So, and I would say this would be really helpful if you're younger and you're kind of feeling listless, looking at the screens, wondering what should I do, and you want like a shot of cultural vitamins that will be extremely challenging for you. You know, get in touch, write to me at the reckoningmotions@yahoo.com, and let's discuss it. It's not going to be cheap. What I know isn't minimal. It's not like I'm just giving you a little bit of homeschooling advice. I'm doing something very serious with the one person who has taken me up on this so far. But I could do 2 more in the next month or so and start another 13-week course. So if you want to inquire about that, go write me an email at reckoningmotions@yahoo.com. The link is below somewhere. So, what is coming up on the channel? All sorts of stuff. Like I said, there's early access stuff over on Patreon, and I have things I've recorded. I'm just so behind. One of the reasons I'm behind, I'll get to in a moment when I talk about my needs, but it has to do with my computers, which are antique, but that's what I'm choosing to use at the moment. But what we've got coming up, let me make a list for you right here. Now, as far as Gravity from Above, I am putting a lot more interviews from my puppet journeys, interviewing puppeteers. And they are fascinating no matter what your perspective is. I mean, there are those people, I know they exist on the Anadromist who just are like, absolutely shake their head and scratch their heads whenever I mention puppet. To which I say, and you're stuck watching a screen. And I'm thinking about the real physical world. That's the importance of puppetry. But I've made a lot of videos about that. Go look for them over here or there or wherever. But so that is going to be pretty full of things starting very soon. I purposely delayed it to try to get as many of these ready as possible. And the first one will come out in the middle of the month, and it'll be this 2-hour interview with the brothers Quay. Next, what's happening on Georgian Crossroads and beyond? Next, what's happening on Georgian Crossroads and beyond? Here's the interesting thing. I've kind of let this one slide a bit, but part of it is I'm retooling it. And I've changed it from Georgian Crossroads, which just exclusively mostly focused on life here in Tbilisi, Georgia. And now I'm widening it up to include my travels, to include thoughts about tourism, to include also my life in Alaska, which for me was a living experience, but for many people is something they think about travel-wise. So I'm going to move the videos that are over on Gravity from Above, which there are several Alaskan ones, and take all the ones that are not about puppetry and put them over on Georgian Crossroads and beyond. And I've got some stuff on the Czech Republic coming up there. I've got some things more about travel in general. And I've been thinking about how to approach my Georgian videos differently. One of the things I decided I don't want to do, and this is one of the things that's really been giving me some kind of tension about this channel, is I don't want to make it about the kind of things you could do if you visit Georgia. I want to do some of those things. But what I realize in traveling and what's been happening in tourism is I actually don't want Tbilisi to be a huge travel destination. I want it to be what it is right now. Just things that people come to a little bit off the beaten path, and yet when people come here, they are quite surprised. What I'm not surprised by is all the videos of people who come here and say the same 6 or 7 things they've done. And that's one of the reasons I started that channel, was to give an alternative opinion so that people just wouldn't come and do the same thing. But since I started it, there's ever more of those. There have been some other videos that have been quite informative to me as well, that other people have made. But anyway, that's my vision for that channel, and that's the one that's kind of lagging behind as far as attention. The Anadrome just started doing pretty well as of literally this week. I've had a couple of videos that did pretty well, but suddenly it got some attention, and that's one of the reasons I started it, was because I knew the stuff with the media would get more attention than if it was over on my main Anadromist channel. The problem with the Anadromist channel is you have one video that a bunch of people like, and then you put something else out that doesn't get their attention. I've probably got 15 to 20 movie reviews over on the Anadrome. Those are precisely the kind of videos I wouldn't put here. Here being it right now, I'm talking to you from the Anadromist. Who knows? Because there are certain people who just want the ideas. They don't want all this contemporary culture stuff that I do. Similarly, I do a lot more with horror and movies over there. I do a lot more with music, and I feel the same. I can just feel it. I don't know how I feel it, but I feel it through the screen that, you can see by the comments you get over there. Now, the problem with the Anadrome is just the opposite, especially as this last One Battle After Another video showed, is that now I've attracted the people who love to descend on something and squawk, and just make their point, and their tribal or creative or whatever point. And so there's a lot more, back and forth tussle over there. But that hasn't changed me at all. That's just what's going on. And I knew that from the beginning. You attract people who are interested in music. Oh, people in the music that's where all the tribal stuff really starts, back in the music world, back in the 70s and 80s. It was just all this tribal stuff. But now it's moved into the big culture, and it's hardened into certain lines. Nevertheless, the Anadrome is, I think, going to end up as the biggest channel. Meanwhile, on the Anadromist, I've got lots more planned. I'll show you a few cards coming up here for things that are happening. I don't know, why do people call it thumbnails? I hate that term. It just sounds so stupid. I'm showing you my thumbnail. Well, that's what they were. They used to be little bitty things that you would see, I don't know, Columbia Records catalog or something. But now it's like, you could be watching this on a screen bigger than where I am delineating with my hand, and someone still calls it a thumbnail. I'm like, no. I'm sorry, I value language too much to do that. So we call them my posters or my covers. That's just how I roll. But let's get to the main meat. Why you're here. I'm calling for questions only on the Anadromous channel for the month of October. I will do this before the end of the month, but the questions all have to be submitted by October 15th, and you can leave the questions either here or over in the Patreon. And I'll give you a hint, the Patreon questions will come first, because that's where we're going. All of my stuff, it's like one site to rule them all. So, what questions will I take? At this point, it's been so long, I'll just take anything. And if it's an honest question, if you just want to write, just say something stupid to me, nah. But if you've got a good, honest question, I'm ready for it. Even if you've got a silly question, I'll take that. But I'm not taking the kind of spiky questions that are like meant to poke you while they're asking the question. I'm not going to take any of those spiky questions that are meant to poke you while they're talking, because that's not good dialogue. Give me good dialogue. The nice thing is the Anadromist, I'll tell you a secret for everyone on the Anadromist. I can't believe how fortunate I've been, all the comments I've gotten on here, and all the support to help me try to get my container here from Alaska, my library, and I still have to do that next year. And which reminds me, I have needs. And we're not talking about the library container. I'm still trying to figure out how to approach this without driving everyone here crazy. Maybe I can find some sort of angel who will get why I'm doing it and will help me. But here are some of my needs. I have been using these old Mac computers. I have 3 of them here, one in Alaska. It's the mid-2012 edition of the MacBook Pro. There is a reason why I use these and won't go to the future with these. And it's right there. It is the CD and DVD drive is right in this, which allows me to take videos and I can take either DVD or I can take a CD and burn it onto there and turn it into a file. And that is very helpful for me. And there is one more. The 2 I'm using mostly here are, I can feel they're looking at me like, we're going to die. I have had them die on me several times. I'm an expert on going inside and figuring out what's wrong and fixing it. So, I've gotten so that if I see a little glitch at some point, I go, oh, I've got to replace that wire soon. I just know what's going on inside of these things. And that's one of the things, the new MacBook Pros and stuff, you can say, yeah, but Byrne, if you did this, yeah, I couldn't open it up and fix the new ones because they prevented that. So these are like, to me, fine old cars that I can fix. I don't like the silver color, but such is life. And there's one, I'm showing it to you right now. This is the price of a used one. It was $132 last week. Now it's $200+. If anyone would like to help me get this, and it's going to cost me probably another $50 in customs fees bringing it through my USA to Georgia account because of, it's bringing it into a foreign service and they really look at computers. So if you'd like to help me, donate to something and say specifically for the old computer, because my second thing related to that is actually it takes me so long to work with these computers. I mean, I'm just talking the GPU inside of it is just so slow now. I really need to get a large screen Mac workplace, a new computer, and just given everything, that's going to be like $2,000 to $3,000 worth. So this is, again, keep in mind the GoFundMe and the tax-deductible receipts. If anyone would like to help me, because quite frankly, one of the reasons it takes so long is that it can take me, I would say, if I spend 8 hours working on a video, 4 of those hours are wasted by the old technology. I like these, but I'm also starting to get messages on my internet and stuff that you're behind, we're not supporting you anymore, that kind of stuff. So I really do need to upgrade. I kind of need both. I need that new computer and I need that old computer and I need a new one. If you're so inclined to help, you can just write, here's $200 or here's $100 to go towards the old computer, or here's $1,000 to go towards the new computer. And I will honor those and make sure that that's exactly where the money goes. And eventually I will show you the thing when it's purchased. The other thing I need, besides dealing with my technology situation, it would be nice to get a better microphone. I just had someone very generously send me a couple of these small little hand microphones. And I've worked it out. We're fine with that. And it'll improve the question and answers more than anything else. The interviews, the Anadromous dialogues that I do. But you may notice that I actually have on the floor, and I'll show you, you're looking at it right now, the books that don't have shelves for me here. And I need to finish painting the other room, and I need to finish building my new library shelves. And unfortunately, the wood here costs more than I've allotted myself for at the moment. So rather than waste money just trying to do stuff, I try to keep up with what I can. And I try to, I'm sitting there saying, okay, you books, I will get to you. If you can help, you could put down, 100. It's going to cost about $300 for the shelves and probably another $100 for the paint. So if you want to say, here's $100 or here's $50 towards the paint or here's $100 towards the shelves, just write those words and I'll know what to do. And if you give more than $25 and write the word book and you haven't gotten a copy of my Three Motions puppet book, I will throw that in. Anyone who gives more than $25 will get one of those. So, finally, questions and answers. I think I've already said this. Okay, we've already done that. All right, I've rambled. Here we go. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for paying attention this long. Thank you for being there. And I think things are going well. They're picking up. But it's been slow because there was a point at which I think the channel, and sometimes I still think this, the channel is just holding on. But I'm convinced that I have to do this. I don't, like I say, money-wise, this means almost nothing, but it should mean more. But I don't do this for the money, evidently, because I hardly make any. I do this because I think there's a lot of stuff in my head that I've learned in my 70 years that I need to get out. And like I said, with writing, if I get to live to be the age of 90, I may probably not finish up the stuff that I have that I want to write. So, any help you can give is worth it. But most importantly, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, you can go ahead and rectify that now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for you give me a lot more than money. You give me a sense that what I'm doing matters. And if that's all I get from you, you know what? That is more than enough. I'd rather have one honest comment that says, because of what you did, I did X and that was important, then I would rather have that than $100,000. Because that is why we live. We don't live to make money. We live to make meaning. And to have discussions, and to argue, and to point at art, and to point at churches, and to point at buildings, and ask questions. And that's what all of this has been about. So, whether you're living in Georgia, or whether you're living in Europe, or whether you're living in America, I can't claim my opinions are politically correct by anyone's wisdom. I just know what I have wrestled with in my life. And I present these things to you. And you don't have to accept it at all, but I appreciate you being here. So, from Tbilisi, this is Byrne saying, Droabit and Madloba, which is thank you. Droabit means we will indeed meet again. Okay, start over. Okay, so now let me give you the actual story of what happened. It's a short story, but it's also, I think you might want to know. The sidewalks of Tbilisi, in Georgia in general, are not always even, to say the least of it. This would not be a place I would choose to be if I had serious accessibility issues and if I was handicapped. So, what happened was I was walking up the street and I came to one of these spots, these are surprisingly common, where part of the path goes up a ramp and the other part kind of goes into this gully, and then there's several steps that lead you up and you meet the ramp. Now, this ramp, there was a little section at the top that I had to negotiate. I decided to take the ramp because it's just easier. And this bulkhead cement wall and the stairs were all made by evidently the same people, and it was unfinished cement, unfinished concrete, very rough. So now I had about 20 pounds, 10 kilos worth of fresh meat that I had just bought, and I was on my way to go buy cheese. And this was in my my day pack. So that was on my back. And as I got up to the top of this place, so it was at least a meter, 3 to 4 feet above the beginning of the stairs, I stepped over this one spot, but I didn't judge my step properly. And suddenly I felt myself moving forward, and I could feel the weight on my back pushing me further as well. And so I put my hands out. I could see I was going to fall the entire, say, 4 feet, a meter or so, down to the ground, to the steps. So I put my, not this hand, but this hand out to catch me. And it took the full brunt of the weight and snapped my arm back. When I first, kind of came out of the moment of shock, I looked around for my hand and couldn't find it. It was behind my head. Absolutely no feeling going towards it at all. I thought for a minute I just pulled it out of its socket. But in fact, I had cracked it in 4 places, the upper arm. And when they showed me the bone in the x-ray, I was just like, whoa, this is not going to be fixed by a simple little cast. So, now, you may notice there is still a gash on my head here. I'll show you another video right this moment. In fact, let me just play that for you. This is, I just wanted to capture it a little fresher than I did. Last time you saw me, I had something on my head, but let's watch this for a second. Okay, just thought I would document myself with my, can't really show you the arm because it's down here under my shirt, but I can show you this. This is what my arm protected me from getting hit. So I did that like the day afterwards. It's now several days later. And here's the thing, even that doesn't capture it very well. There was something like a pit right in here. And they were, when I came in, that's what they were all looking at. They were looking at my head. I had lost a lot of blood. Fortunately, there were people, very kind Georgian people on the streets who gave me napkins, and they called the ambulance and everything like that. And the police came, but everyone was afraid of moving me, but I was in this weird position on the ground. But they took me in and I got a CT scan of my head because they were so worried about it. In fact, there wasn't a second when I wasn't clear-headed, just the moment of falling and then, where'd my arm go? And as they did that, they said, I realized what happened. As I was trying to stop myself, I reached out to try to bring myself from falling with the left hand, but I kept tripping with the weight on my back, pushing me forward, and I hit with the full force of my, not inconsiderable size, this here, and broke it in 4 pieces. Then I felt myself go all the way down. I felt myself hit my knees, which are in okay shape. And then I felt my head crack against the cement. And all I can say is this: had I not tried to reach out and stop myself from falling, the entire force of this fall, the force that broke my bones in 4 places, would have landed right here. And we don't want to go any further thinking about that because I might not be making videos anymore. So you may be grateful, as I am, to God for keeping me around a bit longer. Then I was taken to the emergency room of a clinic whose name I forget. Whenever I first hear Georgian names, they're always 4 or 5 syllables long, and I can never quite get them the first time. Someone has to repeat them to me a couple times just to remember it, because there's so many names, that you just are never going to get them all right away. But the staff treated me well. They were very kind. At the same time, they weren't like American nurses and doctors and such like this. They were they weren't always asking, how is this? How does this feel? How does that? They would just say, okay, we need to take this off or do this or go there. And I'd be like, ugh. And they'd be like, okay. But I often felt it was a bit more like what I remember hospitals being like in the 90s. But they had, good equipment and such. I have no complaints about the place. It was just a very different kind of place from contemporary American establishments who are so concerned with being sued. One of the reasons people often complain about American wait staff, as we now call them, waiters and waitresses, that they say, how come they're always friendly and stuff? They do that because they want a tip. Well, there's something similar going on with hospital staff. And they're not asking for a tip. They just don't want to be sued. So they're very kind to you. They make sure everything is in its right place, almost too much so. It's a style of solicitousness that drives me crazy after a while. And the Georgian style is a little bit closer. I wish there was something in between. Maybe there is in some country. But they took me around. They got me, my CT scan, first time I'd ever been in one of those, those monsters. And then I was more worried about whether I could get up again rather than I was the thing being put in the hole. And then the surgeon came in and we talked a little bit. And it was clear I had a lot of work that had to be done. And what they did was they wrapped me up in a temporary cast if I moved the wrong way. Generally, I'm not in pain. But if I move the wrong way, get up a little, I feel the crunching inside of there. And that is painful. Also, with my hand, which I have use of my hand. I was going to stand up, but forget it. I have use of my hand, but my forearm is fine. But then it's like I've got an octopus tentacle between my shoulder, which is good, thankfully, and my elbow. And so if I press against my stomach, nothing moves, but I feel stuff inside moving. It's a very weird sensation. So anyway, and then I came home and I made that video, and I am very grateful that by the morning, pretty much everything had been taken care of, and people have continued to give to me, and I am humbled that people care enough to do that and to show their support and love. So we'll leave it there. There was experiences I had today at the doctor's, but we won't go into all of that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm 99% convinced that the operation will go smoothly. It's a routine operation. And at the same time, you can never 100% say, oh yeah, I'll get through this. So I've gotten in touch with a few friends and said, look, if anything happens to me, this is what happens next. So hopefully, next time you see me, I will be here and it won't be somebody else. But, yeah. So if you want to light a candle for me in your church or say a prayer or even pass on a few thoughts, and I know there are those people that are super cynical about, oh, you're just saying thoughts and prayers, because what they really want is they want a law to change the gun laws in America. But in fact, thoughts and prayers are wonderful. And so is the very real world contribution of your gifts to help me in this moment. And, so thanks for coming and listening. And I've already said goodbye, so I'll just fade away.
A people without history is not redeemed from time. For history is a pattern of timeless moments.